All right, welcome everyone. This is a Viper Professional Training and Support webinar. This is a Monday night webinar, and today's date is September 24th, 2018. And the title of tonight's webinar is Using Trend Lines and Trading with Object Traders Wedge. And as everyone knows that's been to our webinars or our live trading room, everything that we say and do at Viper Trading Systems is for educational purposes only. Futures trading, Forex trading, any kind of financial instruments trading involves risk, therefore there's always risk of loss. You should only trade discretionary capital, and that is money that you can afford to lose. Nothing said in this webinar, other webinars we have, our live trading room, or anything else with Viper Trading Systems should never be construed as trading or investment advice. And as always, everyone does trade at their own sole discretion. Any questions on the disclaimer? All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Bear with me a second. Now, I went ahead and went to the ebook just real quick. And what you want to do is you want to scroll down. Wedge is one of the last trades, so, basically just scroll down past Sniper, past Stealth, past Time Trader, and you'll probably run into Wedge here pretty soon. There you go. All right, Wedge is number 12 on the ebook that we have. And basically what I'm going over tonight, you'll be able to go over with this too. This number 12 here, using Ninja Ray for Wedge. How to use the TMB buttons, using offsets for touch and close, moving the wedge while it's live, add-on trades with Wedge, okay? And you can even put it in auto mode as far as that goes. Okay, but number 12 is the Wedge, and that's what we'll be talking about tonight. All right, bear with me a second. Now, one thing I want to go over real quick too is, does everybody realize that basically when you start your chart, okay, you want to go ahead and let a bar close completely. Let me just show you what I'm talking about here. I'm going to go ahead and fast forward this to where, see that bar closed right there? Now that's when you want to put Object Trader on your chart, okay? And you don't want to put Object Trader on your chart and then go changing. For instance, let's say that I put Object Trader on and just go ahead and click OK, and then change this to like Russell. You don't want to do that, okay? More than likely on Ninja 8, we'll have that little thing solved. It's not really a thing solved. It's obviously just that Object Trader just still thinks you're on this particular chart, okay? And if you ever have that to where you look at your account and your positions and you're actually trading something different than what you thought you were, that's probably what you've done, okay? So be sure and, let a bar close before you ever put an object type on the chart, and as a rule, a lot of people don't just load up and then just immediately start firing trades to begin with. You obviously want to diagnose your charts, right? Okay? Now, Wedge is just simply the ray tool drawn at any angle, okay? You know how Ray works on NinjaTrader. You can angle it from either side here. You can move it. You can do anything with it, right? Okay, and the same goes for, like one underneath, okay? Now, this is why we named it Wedge right here, is because, let's say, for instance, that you wanted to do a wedge setup on this. Let's say that you don't know for sure which direction this is going. You are getting a second green stealth, which a lot of times, will tell you that they could change. So you could simply do something like this, get it at the proper angle. And then usually what I do is pull it back just a little bit. Same thing on this one here. Slide it on down to the proper angle, like so, and then move it just a little bit. The reason for that moving it just a little bit is so you don't get faked into a trade. Okay, it's up to you if you want to do that. You can also just get out of a trade fairly quickly too. All right, then you want to go to Wedge. All right, now the way Wedge is designed is basically, if you were looking at even a region, you have a bottom of this box, which we'll call B. Let me go ahead and just do this so it'll be on the video here. We'll just go ahead and do, I thought I did text, just a second. There we go. All right, we'll do a B, and let's do it in a different color so it'll show up on this chart. We'll do it navy. And we'll go ahead and do it like a 24 just for the fun of it. All right, so you have a B, which is the bottom of the box, and then you have a T, which is the top of the box. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this, paste it, move it up here, and then change it to a T. It's easier to do that way. All right, so even on a region or a wedge or anything, you have a T and a B button, so to speak. If the prices are below the line, then that's the T button. If the prices are above the line, then that's the B button. Okay, so when you're doing a wedge, to give an example, let's say if you wanted to take this short, if it broke down through the bottom, like say a touch plus 2 to give an example, or if you wanted to take it long, if it happened to go a touch plus 2 above the line, that's exactly the way you would set it. Okay, because touch plus simply means if you have long out, that would mean that it has to be 2 ticks above the wedge line. If you set it for 2 ticks inside it, you would simply do it for long inside, and it would fire 2 ticks inside the wedge. Okay, let me show you what I'm talking about. We might be able to get this to fire. Let's see. I'm doing an inside right now, so it should actually fire early if it gets within 2 ticks of that line. But let's see if it does. Hopefully I don't go through it first. See if we can get some movement at all. Got it going about 30 times, so that's as much as I'm going to go. Let's see if we can get something. We'll go one way or the other. Okay, now notice that if I'm on long inside, that means that it would fire inside that wedge. That's probably not what you want. Okay, because it's all relevant, isn't it? You know, in other words, if I wanted to fire, if it breaks the line, then I really want to do this one. Let me just let it fire inside those so you can see that it will actually do it if we get there. Bear with me just a second. Let's see if we can. I'm going to go ahead and tilt it just a little bit more so we can see if it will fire inside. Now this is a new session, so that's another thing you want to watch for on wedge especially. Okay, see how it fired inside it? Okay, now watch if I want to fire outside it. I just simply turn it on here like touch plus 2, and it'll only fire if it takes it out to the top side. Okay, that's the way the wedge works. Now notice how that did fire inside the wedge like it was supposed to. All right, hopefully I can get it to fire outside the wedge also if this doesn't roll over on us. It very well could, we'll see. Okay, watch and see. There you go, you just got your second one. Notice that you went 2 ticks above your wedge, and that's why it did that, okay? Now, you can also, if you want to, you can use your wedge as even a trail stop. You can use it as a complete stop and even a reverse if you want to, as far as that goes. Okay? So let's say, for instance, that, okay, I've got a little bit of money in this right now. Let's just fast forward just a little bit and see if we get something. Notice how that wedge actually works really quite nicely like that. You know, touch. And we designed this to where it works with NinjaTrader Array. Now you do have another one in here. I'm not going to really go over it as much tonight, but it's called the Retracer, and it's a little different. We'll have a separate webinar on that one. I don't really use it anymore, and we may even take it out of the mix. The only reason we haven't is because it will form a channel also. Let's see if I left those lines on the chart. What line is T and is okay? That's a good question, Kenneth, by the way. Now notice that Kenneth said, okay, what if I left this on the chart like right now? This is no longer relevant to this at all. This is now your B button. That's a very good catch on that, Kenneth. Okay, because see what the deal is when it's inside the wedge, you know, if it breaks out, that would be the T button. If it breaks down, it would be the B button, right? But now this is the B button. Now, if you're on a B button, you're more than likely going to want to do something like this, see where that little angle is right there? See where you have a little swing, so to speak, like that? Now, what if I wanted to take this off the table if it breaks my wedge, okay? Now, remember, let's get rid of this one for now. This is our, which button is this, everyone? It's the B button, right? Because this is actually prices above. So if I wanted to take, let's say that I wanted to take both contracts off, okay? If it breaks this wedge right here, all right, then I would just simply set it for B button, short, outside, turn that on, and then probably do a touch plus like 2, okay? Now, keep in mind that I'd probably give up most of my trade. I'm just trying to show you how to use the wedge more than how to trade tonight, okay? But we'll go ahead. If this pops up, we'll change our wedge in the middle of the string. Let's just see what it does. And by the way, you can get rid of the one that's not even relevant at the time. Just get it off the chart. Why wouldn't it be a T button, Lewis? Because anytime the price is above the line, it's the B button. If I did draw a wedge like this, this would be the T, and now that's the B. Okay? But see, this is the B regardless, you know, because all I did is put a T on top of it. See, what I'm talking about here basically is that if you got a line drawn under your prices and your prices are above it, then this is a B. This would become a T right here. Okay, let's say, for instance, that I was to position this wedge like this. All right, now that's a T button. So this would not even fire at all. Okay, but this would if I turned this on. Okay, let me just show you. We'll do it inside and just show you if it will. Go ahead and do an inside touch plus 2. You should get 2 more. Let's see if it does it. Now I'd have to get within 2 ticks of that wedge. And what I've got it on right now is inside, so you'll see it actually happen. If we don't get taken out of the trade, we'll see. Trying to show how to do this wedge deal. See if it'll go on up there. Not yet, has it? Now keep in mind, we wouldn't add a trade right here. I'm just trying to show you how the wedge will work. If we can get this bar to close at all, that is. If it closes down, I'll move it. Let's just leave it here for a second. It popped up again. And like I say, keep in mind, we would not be adding, let's just add 1 for the fun of it. If it gets within 2 ticks, see there? See how it just fired that? Okay, that's because it got within 2 ticks of that line right there. Okay, now if I did it outside, it would have to get 2 ticks above the T button. Okay, we tried to make this where it's not difficult to remember, because all you have to do is remember that if your prices are above it, it's the B button, and if the prices are below it, it's the T button. Okay, it's pretty easy. All right, but we designed this thing, I think, actually pretty well myself. I like the wedge. Keep in mind, though, that a wedge doesn't calculate as easily across boundaries, so to speak. You know, in other words, from one session to the other. It's using this part of the wedge is what it's doing. It's not even looking at this. It's totally negating this part of this wedge right here, right now, from here all the way to here, because that's a different session. But this is still the angle that we've got drawn on this side of the chart past that session right there. Okay. Okay, now notice that's like a little phantom right there. Let's see if we can go ahead and draw a trend line. If we'll get another pop up, we'll have a inflection point, and I'll go ahead and take the trade off the table. If it breaks that. See, now what button is this right here for me? Okay, now keep in mind that this is now my B button, so I got to get that out of the way if I want to use this one. Okay, if I want to take this off the table, let's say that I want to take all 4 off. If it happens to touch below that line at all, then I would use my line underneath And remember, if it ever goes above it, this is now your underneath line. So be careful with that, okay? In other words, this line doesn't even count right now. This line does, okay? Everybody sees that, right? Because otherwise, if this goes 2 ticks under this line, it should flatten me. See there, it just did. See, this is the beauty of this wedge. You can actually do this like in real time, and just remember that wherever your price is, that's where the button is. Okay, for instance, let's say that we want to do another wedge. Okay, let's go ahead. And by the way, you can go ahead and just erase any wedges anytime you want. Let's see if we can get another trade here. We're going to try to do 2 inflection points. If we get 2 inflection points, we'll see. Let me speed it up a little bit, and we should get it something. There we go. There we go. All right, everybody see the little wedge you could draw right here? So you could simply say, okay, I want to take a long trade. If it takes out that angle, and then maybe move it up just a little bit out of the way, or even a little bit further out of the way. Keep the angle. Okay. Now, if I wanted to take this trade, if it breaks, long O means it's got to go outside. Long I would mean it has to go inside. Okay. You wouldn't be using long I as much with wedges. I'm just trying to show you how it was designed. Okay, we'll use long I, and we're going to do 2, not 4. See how you can change everything on the fly before it ever fires? Let's see if we can get a trade. We got our angle. If it goes 2 ticks above that, we should fire. By the way, you can even change this midstream. What if I want to do 1? All I got to do is wait for now 1 tick to go above that wedge right there instead of 2. What if I want to change it before it ever fires? I can readjust that line anytime I want. I can even use it to add to my trade if I want to. I'll show you how to do that. Okay, we're touch +1. Let's see if we're going to fire. There you go. Just got 2 contracts. All right, now what if you wanted to add to this? Let's just get this out of the way for a second. I don't know where it's heading, but let's just get it out of the way. What if you said, you know what, if this breaks right across here even, I want to go ahead and add 2. You know, as long as you move that wedge, or what if I wanted to add 2, if it happened to come down, I can actually do long inside. And so if it gets within 1 tick of this line, or there you go, just added them. See there? Because it went out the top. That's the way we designed wedge, so that you can, you know, I think the programmer that did this for us is just really sharp. But I'm going to basically take a little bit of the credit myself to begin with, because I actually wanted this designed this way, and he was able to do it. And I think that's wonderful, the way he was able to do this. Because you know, this wedge steel is pretty cool. I'll show you. Basically, let's say that you wanted to use 2 inflection points. All right, right now, what's your angle on this chart? And by the way, you can get rid of raise anytime you want. Right now, you don't have anything to do it with, do you? But could you actually do it like even with line 6, to give an example, or line 5? See line 5 right there? See where my line 5 is? That's actually the top of that little yellow shadow. Now you've got an inflection point. See there? What if I said, you know what? If they break that angle right there by X ticks and then pull it back a little bit, I might want to get out of all of my contracts. And I could simply do it like this. What wedge is this right now? It's the B button. So if it touches 1 tick underneath it, it will kill all 4 contracts. Okay? Now see how it danced off of it so far? We're still good. Looks like it's going to get it. Going to get it. Touch. There you go. You're flat. Everybody see how cool that can be? Okay. Now, what is this button now? It's the T button, right? Because the price is underneath it. But when it's a T button, you really want it facing more like this angle instead, you know, like an angle where it can break up through it. In other words, a wedge, you know, something like that. Now, right now, we don't have an inflection point to look at this, but I'll just go ahead and get this out of the way, or just don't turn these on. If you don't turn these on, it doesn't matter where you put a ray. It won't fire a trade, okay? Let's see, Kenneth says, using T button, outside touch plus 2, at what point does that top T line become a bottom line? The moment it's broken. The moment it's broken. So in other words, right now, what have we got? We've got a T line, we got a B line, okay? Now, they're not set where I want them yet because we don't have any kind of an inflection point. We need a thrust down, a retrace, and another thrust down so that we can get some kind of an inflection point. I see it coming down to here actually myself, so let's see if it does. And if not, right here would be where it'll come. See where it tried to pull back a little bit? All right, we still don't have, well, we got a thrust down and a retrace, but we don't have an inflection point yet, so let's see what we get. Let's see what it's going to do. No inflection point. There's coming one. See it? Everybody see it? Thrust, retrace, thrust. So let's go ahead and get rid of our wedge. And we'll draw another one right here. What do you think? Let's see if it will work. See here, notice how that just went straight down. So you didn't have a second inflection point except right here, and it went too fast for me to get that one. But you can see that you got it here. See your lightning, thrust, retrace, thrust. So if I wanted to do this little trade, I could draw it like this. It's too late, it looks like. And then get it out of the way a little bit, and then turn this on. Now this is now my, what, T button, right? Let's do 2. We may get another inflection point before we fire this thing. I'm going to do touch plus 2. Let's see if we can get another one. Looks like we're going to. Maybe. Maybe. Okay, now we got it. Your angle's more like this. Like so, right? See it? Thrust, retrace. And notice how I can move that while it's live, but keep in mind I could have accidentally fired a trade too. Because you can move this line through your trade if it's going the right direction. In other words, a long out has to be heading this direction. You can't take this down through it and have it fire unless that bar goes back up through it. See how that's still heading down just a little bit? So we won't get a trade just because it touches that line plus 2 unless it's going back that direction. Okay, now if I was to angle this line like this, now which is it? It's not a proper angle at all, but see, it now became the B button, right? And we don't have a B button turned on at all because short out, we don't have it turned on. And we don't have long inside turned on. Okay, so just remember, wherever this is at, this is what describes which one of these buttons works. The reason we designed this way is because a box having a T button and a B button is easier to understand than a wedge. There's no question about that, right? But you still have inside, outside trades on both the T and B buttons. And you have the same thing on wedges. Okay? Let's see if we can get a little trade. Let's let it do its thing for a minute. It looks like it's going to bounce off a predictor to me, but, you know, could you actually use, somebody just asked, could you use the wedge as like a sniper? Yes. Matter of fact, let's just do it. Hopefully we can get it quick enough. Like say so, and then you want to do a long inside touch plus 2. So if it gets within 2 ticks of that, it would fire this one, right? See there? Got within 2 ticks and ticked back up. So that actually fired it from the bottom line. See there? So yeah, you can use it like a sniper line too. The beauty of it is though, a sniper line is a horizontal line and a wedge line can be at any angle. Okay, now what if I wanted to do this again and add a contractor? So just simply turn that on. Long outside means touch +2. That will fire, and see, it'll hold this angle. So, you know, if it doesn't get it here, it may get it way down here even. Okay, that's another beauty of trend lines is that, you know, until this actually breaks, there you go, you just got it. Okay, see how it broke our little trend line? That's how Wedge works. And, you know, depending on how many lines you've got on your chart, it's going to know where it's at. Like right now, for instance, this line doesn't even count down here, as long as that price is above this line, because this has just now become my B button. I'll show you how you can know it's your B button. Let's just put a short on it instead and take 3 contracts off if it even touches that line. See there if it's going to. Wait, no, this is my B button still because it was under it. It's going to do it on this one. Let's see if it gets it. That's my T button now. That's my B button. So if this goes below this line by even touching that line, it would fire me out of 3 contracts. If I wanted to add contracts, I could simply have whichever trade set up. See, there you go, you just flattened because it touched that line. I didn't set it at touch plus, I set it at touch. If I wanted it again, I could simply turn these on, and whichever one it touches, it'll fire the trade. See there? It's a cool little feature, especially if you draw it on your charts to protect your coin. Okay, to give an example, what if you wanted to stay in that trade that we were just in, but you wanted to get out of all but your runner? Well, couldn't you see that as you got your inflection point, you went thrust, retrace, thrust? So could you have drawn a ray underneath something like that and gotten out of everything but your runner? Notice that this is still bouncing right here, but yet you'd be out of all but your runner. That way you wouldn't be taking a chance of giving a lot of it back, especially on oil. Okay? So does this mean that if I was to draw, let's say for instance that we're going to draw this thing to where if it actually even tries to break down, now this looks like a pretty good uptrend to me, but let's see if we can get another little area that we can actually do this. Everybody see how this works now? Now notice that I have 1, 2, 3 rays on the chart. So I did this on purpose. Which ray is which? B button, T button. Now, obviously you wouldn't draw them that way, but that is your B button and that's your T button. Okay? If you get rid of them at any time, they're no longer anything on your chart. Object Trader does not see them. Okay, let's see. You can use a ray regardless of bar close, ray, etc. Lewis, let me think what you're saying there. You can use a ray regardless of bar close. You can use a ray at any time that you want to. You know, for instance, let's say that I want to just let this thing run like crazy, okay? We don't know where it's going to go, but I do know that I've got, let's see if we take this out. If we get any kind of a thrust and a pullback, I'm going to draw a ray, and we'll take the trade off the table. If it does it, okay, here we go. You got a little bit of one right there. Let's draw our angle. Let's pull it back a little bit. That's our B button, right? That would take 3 off if that touches that. Let's do it touch +2. That'll take everything off the table if that actually takes out that little line. All right. Now, I'm not saying that's what you'd want to do at this time, because I like to get a thrust and what I call a real swing to draw a ray. This is not what I consider lightning one. You'll get in and out of trades all the time if you do it this way. I'd recommend not doing that and just letting the trade ride itself until it does a thrust and a pullback, and then another thrust, and you can actually draw the right angle. Okay. Let's see, Lewis. So you can take Ray tool and use it to protect your trade or help you see where it's going to. That's what you mean? Yeah, absolutely. To give you an example, let's just fast forward this a little bit, and I'm going to see if people can pick some rays. That took us out. Okay, let's see if we can pick some rays. Anybody? Let's let it thrust first, and then let's see if anybody can pick a ray. There's one getting ready, kind of right across there. Let's see what it does. Okay, here we go. All right, see this little ray right across here? Now keep in mind, this is actually trying to bounce off of, it hadn't quite come down to predictor. But what if we said, you know what, I kind of like that, and I want to go ahead and draw a wedge across it. But then if it does come down any further, like say down into here, I might want to go ahead and very possibly get another trade. Let's see if we can get any kind of a, is it going to come down to here? That would be a phantom if it comes down to here. So what you could actually do, you could draw a wedge across here at like phantom, for instance. This has got support right here. See there? Right there, support. So could you have a wedge drawn like this, hoping that it comes down here? This one won't count right now unless it breaks it. So what we'll do is we'll go long off the bottom, touch +2, or long across the top, and we'll move it at a little bit more of an angle just in case it breaks up, and we'll dip the toe on it with just 2. Let's see which one fires. Now you could redraw your wedge, see it? So which one will fire? What do you think? One of them's going to. See, they're both rays. Let's see if one of them fires. There you go, you got the bottom one. See how it just kissed support? Now what if I wanted to fire the top one as it comes up through it? I could do that also. See what I mean? So it really just gives you a real good opportunity if you're quick enough and you think, and learn how to use the tool and kind of play with it quite a bit. See, that just kicked in 2 more contracts. See there? Now, could I draw this trend line right now? See how that did a little thrust retrace? Could I protect my coin with that angle? Let's just see. Let's get this out of the way for the fun of it. And I'm going to take it out on Ray instead. All right, let's see if we can do that. I'm going to get these down a little bit. That way we can see the chart better. There we go. All right, see that thrust, retrace, thrust? Let's get rid of our wedge. You can clearly see thrust, retrace, thrust, so I'm going to draw a wedge, like so. Everybody see that? And what if I said, okay, that's my bottom B button, and I got 4 on, so I want to take 4 off if it touches that line +2. And I want to drag it back just a little bit so I could have a little bit of a runner. You see what I mean? So it doesn't just accidentally wick me. And then that's the angle that's actually heading up. And if you see that it's starting to tighten, see like along in here, you can move this wedge in real time. So I can actually move it right along here again, or I can even change my angle and move it right along here if I want to. See, like so? That's the angle. And it looks like you're going to be flat. Not yet. Are you going to be flat? There you are, you're flat. See how beautiful that can work? I like this little feature simply because, you know, how many times have you gotten out of a trade at the most opportune time and not let it even retrace on you? Because when they retrace on you, guess what? You're going to give back a lot of your money, especially if you leave any contracts on. So let's look and see if we can get in another trade. Only if we get 2 inflection points, and it's got to go 1, 2, 3. So we haven't gotten it yet. Let's see if we do. And we'll redraw array. Nope. There it is. 1, 2, 3. So I don't like this, obviously, because that's like a double top. But now you have this 1, 2, not quite 3. Got to make your mind up, though. What do you want to do? Anybody? I think I'll go ahead and flip a wedge around and take that trade. Takes out line 6. And we'll see if it doesn't take it out, we'll go ahead and redraw our angle so we can get in a little bit better. Okay. We could also look to the left to trade the right. You have a little swing across here. You could set another ray up like so, and then change that to touch +2, and you'll fire one of them. Now that's a little late to me. I would have liked to have drawn that a little bit quicker. But let's see if we can get something here. That's a perfect entry off midband, by the way. There we go. We got 2. All right. Now let's just check something here and see if we can get another wedge drawing on this chart to add one. So what we're going to see if we've got kind of a high, low, a little bit lower, high, lower, low. So that's like an ABC Gartley type trade. Let's see if this keeps busting on up, or if we can actually get in and add one. Yep. Everybody see it? There's your angle right there. So could we actually add one if it takes that out to the upside? And by the way, you can even take these wicks if you want to. And see this little swing right here even? You know, if you really want in this trade more like even across here or something like that, you certainly can. But keep in mind that, you know, if you draw these angles on these charts, we already got our 1. Let's go ahead and move our stop just a little bit. And let's see if we can add one more if, let's don't add it at the bottom. Let's add it if it breaks up. Kind of like boxing it in. And by the way, you can even do this like a box too. Look at this. You can actually spin this around, bring it down, and that'll still fire that trade as a wedge if it touches +2. And then you'll have 4. How many of you use the wedge in your trading? Just curious. There's 4. Now, one thing I want you to be careful of, don't turn this on auto, because what this means is that every time that touches, I'm going to get an extra contract until I hit my max. Okay, and remember your max is set in Object Trader under Strategies, Max Contracts, which is right. See, I've got mine set at 6, so obviously that's going to get more than 4 if it gets near that line again. What button is that now? It's my top button, right? Pardon me, my bottom button. That's my bottom button, so I'd have to turn this on. Let's see, Dennis, just a second. Brian says, thanks for doing this webinar. I realize now I've been drawing them too tight, so when you enable touch +2, long I, once it hits 2 ticks above the ray, it will fire the trade. Long O would. It doesn't have to close up. I'm just thinking if you do that and it keeps dropping, it can get you long while still dropping, right? Yes. Yeah, the one thing that I personally like to do, you know, and you got to be careful, because if you pull it back too far, then you're taking more of a breakout trade too, right? But what I like it for also, see how that did 5 just then? We don't want 5 contracts, obviously, right? You know, especially if it goes against us. That'd be 10 ticks, that's $500. But the beauty of this is, let me just see if we can get this and do it like, I'm going to turn this auto off. Let's do it to where we just get out of some of these contracts if we get a ray break. Let's see if it does. First off, it's got to get a thrust. I haven't even got that yet. There's your angle. See it? So could you get rid of your rays? Draw your ray. That's the angle of it right there. Pull it back a little bit and then use that ray. That would be your B ray. And take off, say, 3 of them. Because we got 6. Remember, we had those rays on there. So, and by the way, if it draws again, we'll even get it again where we can get even a better ray. That's pretty good. Let's see if it tops out there. If we go up a little bit, we'll find out. Breaks our ray, we'll be out of 3 of them. Yeah, you could actually get out of all but your runner. Matter of fact, just go ahead and do 5. It'll take you out. There you go. You're down to 1. See how beautiful that works like that? It's pretty cool. So let's see if we can get in, either get stopped out or get another trade and go ahead and do it based on a ray. Matter of fact, I can see the ray we could draw already. See your little lightning? Right now, your ray is at this angle right here, like so. All right, we're not going to fire it just yet because it's going to have to at least come down to mid-bend or so, or we're going to have to get another inflection point. That's micro lightning right there. That's where it'll fake you in. You've got to get like a little thrust, retrace, then like get an ABC if at all possible. Not taking anything just yet. There we go. That might do it right there. Get our ray drawn around. Nope. It's not going to do it yet. Still haven't got our inflection point. That just went on up, so that's fine. Let it go. It's got to retrace so we can get in again. Right now, you're still heading up, and we didn't turn that other ray on. But let's see if we can get one. For every thrust, there's a retrace. I'm going to go ahead and put my stop just under here for right now, since we're only in 1. See if we can use our wedge. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of wedges again. I like to get rid of them so that I don't accidentally get on the wrong side of one. You got to know where your T and B button is. Let's see if we can get something. There's a little retrace. What do you think? Thrust, retrace, thrust. There's your angle right there. I don't like that angle right there, but let's leave it for just a minute. I'll go ahead and turn that on. If this goes down a little bit further, we're going to redraw with another inflection point. Let's see what it does. Either that or we're not going to do 5. Oh, there we go. Look at that. Look at that. See how it just kissed with a higher low? I think that's even the trade we took on Friday, wasn't it? Let's see how the wedge works on this then. That's long out. That's the T button, right? That's the T button. So let's just go ahead and do 2. That's fine. And if we get another draw, and keep in mind, by the way, I could even do this, turn this on live, do this, and box this little puppy in too. See what I mean? And I could actually even do something like this, wait for it to fire 2, and then fire 2 more even if I wanted to. See, now it's going to be inside, which means 2 ticks inside, it will fire. There you are. All right, and there you go. All right, now let's see if we can fire that top one, and you would have a total of 5. Now, keep in mind you don't have to do that, obviously. But if that goes 2 ticks above that T line, it will fire. I'll get this one out of the way. Watch, and you'll see it if it does. That's the B button. Long inside 2. That's 1. There's 2. It needs 1 more. Kind of slow, huh? By the way, if you get into, see where this didn't actually fire like that because of this angle? All right, now if I do this like this right here and turn this on, this is my touch plus 2. See how it just did the 5? So if you ever have it where it doesn't fire something, you probably moved your line or turned on the long enabled in the middle of a bar, and you can't do that. Let's see, check out my above comment in its entirety, Lewis. Let's see. What's the best way to practice this, Gary? Because it's somewhat complex, although it appears simple. You're doing an excellent job to simplify, but it's complex in a way. Well, it is actually complex in a way, mainly because we designed this so that we could actually basically put a wedge on a chart, okay? I wanted that when we first designed Object Trader from the get-go, okay? Because I wanted to be able to do something like this. I wanted to be able to say, okay, I've got a little inflection point here, not much of one, but I've got kind of an angle, don't I? So I can actually draw a wedge under that low, back it off a little bit, and maybe, and that's my bottom button now, right? Protect some of this coin and ride this thing up for the gusto, you know, because that angle's not going to change, you know, and if we get to where we get like a thrust up and another pullback, we'll redraw our angle even, okay? But keep in mind, a wedge can also get you out of trades, or, well, let's say, for instance, if we just want to take 2 off if it breaks that angle. See, it didn't even break that angle. But if it does, maybe we want to take 3 off. See what I mean? Rather than giving up 10 ticks on all 5. So if that goes 2 ticks under that wedge, it will fire 3 contracts out. Okay? And by the way, you can reverse on a wedge too. You can do anything you want. See how my angle is actually holding all 5 contracts? Now that wasn't just lucky. That was drawing the angle and then backing it off at that same angle. Because that's the way their algorithms are really going right now. Now, what if you wanted to say, you know what, it barely touched me, so could I back this off a little bit more? And the answer would be yes. Okay? Because the whole idea is you want to save as much of that trade as you possibly can, but you also want to ride it as far as you possibly can, right? Now, I'm going to show you how you can even reverse on it, but let's let it see if we get a thrust, a retrace, and a thrust. I don't like to reverse it here yet. We don't even have a predictor. Is it going to take 2 off or 3 off? We'll find out. Almost. Almost. 1 more tick. 2 more ticks now. See how that held that angle even? You know, granted, and by the way, you can set this for close too if you want. Just make it close below it with 2 ticks if you want. I don't like the close as much. I usually use the touch simply because I know that it has to touch on, you know, both sides of a line. And let's see if that takes us out at all. It would have to be 2 ticks under my line. Notice how it's not taking you out yet. Now where's the button though? That's now your T button, by the way. So you'd have to turn this on for it to ever kill the contracts. Everybody see why? Because that's now your, you're under your price right now. So let's redo this just real quick. Let's just see if we take anything out. No, we're going to do the angle. Let's do the angle. By the way, you can even do it like with line 6 if you wanted to also at the angle. Let's see if we get taken out of this thing. Not yet. Just got taken out of 3. Everybody see where the angle was broken now? Now, does that mean we'd want taken out of all of the ones yet? No, not necessarily, right? But notice how our wedge took us out of just a few contracts by simply being like a trail stop. Okay, now it looks like it's retracing a little bit, so could you get ready with another wedge? And the answer is yes. So let's see if we get a little retracement. And if we do, we'll draw a wedge. I think I missed it, went too fast. Yep, too fast. Let's see if we can get it. Nope, it's too fast. You want to see how it reverses for the fun of it? I will draw it and we'll see. We're in long 2. We'll do a wedge right across here, like so. And if you wanted to reverse it, you just simply turn this on and it would reverse however many contracts you've got. Now, I'm not saying to do this because this particular trade is still long, but watch it reverse this if it touches that line +2. Okay, so what line is this? It's line B because the price is above it. If it goes below it by 2 ticks, it will reverse the trade. And like I said, that's not a reversal spot. I'm just trying to show you how to reverse on wedge. Let's leave that angle up there and see if it reverses at all. Everybody see how you could probably use this little tool in the room? Now keep in mind, wedge is a little pickier on close. So what I recommend doing is instead of close, just think of 4 ticks on a bar and, you know, use it more like that, but use the touch feature because I found that it works wonderfully on touch. Close, not so well. Ninja 8, it will. Because on Ninja 8, we've got a new part of our indicator that actually plots every single plot that's on the chart. It knows, it's kind of like longitude and latitude, right? You know, GPS locations, things like that. It knows every single spot on this chart is a particular point. So when we draw these wedges on Ninja 8, it's going to be even more accurate than it is on this one. Let's see if we can get a reversal for the fun of it. I'll speed it up a little bit. Keep our angle. There you go. See there? You just got a reversal trade. Okay? Now, would I want to reverse there? Probably not. But let's face it, that angle was broken, so Object Trader did actually reverse it because it broke it by 2 ticks. Let's see if it actually pays off or not. Doesn't look like it. We'll see though. Nope. Nope. See, it's still totally an uptrend, so no. But notice how it did beautifully though, reverse it just like we designed it. Okay. Now, what would you do next on this chart if you were deciding to, well, go for a decent trade? What do you think? Use the wedge tool? You want to try it and see? Let's see if we can get another wedge. I'll get rid of all wedges. And we're going to watch for angles. Got to get an inflection point. Obviously, we're looking for longs for now. See if we can get something, some kind of an angle set up. Well, it's already there. I went too fast, but everybody see the angle on that? Let me just draw the wedge. You can see it right through there, unfortunately, but now you'd have to actually redo your wedge like so and very possibly take the trade, right? What if this breaks down? Well, let's see if we can get a wedge the other direction. Or what if this breaks line 0, and we want to go ahead, and there we got a little trade with our angle. But what if we don't even want to use this right here? We said, you know what, if this actually breaks this angle right here even, because this is a phantom trade, so far it's working out, right? But what if we said, you know what, if this does decide to take out our bottom at all, we could reverse the trade too. Okay, so we've kind of got it where we got a little thrust retrace and we've got a little angle. Whoa, that's may do it even. Not yet. Angle held. It's amazing how they'll hold those angles lots of times. Now, will it continue holding? No, maybe not. But so far, you're getting lower highs and higher lows, so that's pretty much a wedge situation right there. See, we're long, but if they do break that angle, we could short it if we wanted to by simply turning on that short enabled, reverse enabled. Still no trade yet, right? Looks like we might get one though. By the way, we got our angle right, but let's move this away just a little bit, just in case, so that we don't get wicked in. Because that would be, there you go. You just got you a little short. All right, now let's go ahead and get these out of the way for a minute so I can finish teaching on this. And let's see if we can get out of the trade based on an angle. Right now, your angle is right across here, like so. Everybody see that? But you may get a better one. See how now you got 2 inflection points here, so you could actually do more like this at your angle. See there? 2 points. So could you actually get out of this trade? We got 3 on. We're not going to reverse it, but let's see, that's our top button. So if it actually goes above it by touch plus 2, maybe we just want to get out of like 2 of them. Okay? And we didn't even get out of any as of yet. Redraw your angle, by the way. See there? Same angle, just moved it to where that little wick was. Will it take us out? Maybe. Let's fast forward and see if it did. Just got taken out of all but one. Does everybody see where you can get back in this trade at an angle again? You got to think fast because it already did it. What do you think about using wedge for your trading a little bit more? Could you actually use the wedge, for instance, like let's see, thrust, retrace, thrust. Could you possibly say, you know what, if this actually breaks this angle right across here, then maybe we're no longer heading down. See the little thrust retrace? Let's see if this heads down first off. We got one left. Let's just try it. Got our angle set. Still riding. And looks like we're going to get stopped. Nope, not yet. Angle held. You're flat. Everybody see how to do that? Notice the angle held until it went 2 ticks above that line right there. So, oh, by the way, wedge can be a pretty powerful little tool. Now, I'm not sure exactly. I turned that back on, didn't I? I didn't really want that long, so we're going to kill that. Be sure that these are turned off or you'll get into a trade. Okay, so that's the way we designed Wedge, and you just simply use the Array tool, bottom button, top button, bottom button, top button. It's wherever you move it. Okay, if you use a single line on the chart, I didn't go over that real quick, but let me just show you what I'm talking about with a single line. If you do a single line on your chart, which button would you use here? T button, right? What about here? B button, right? See, that's a single line. What if I did this? T button. What if I did this? B button. Okay? It knows where it is according to price. Okay? Because on this chart, that price is at a particular point on the chart, and it knows right now that I've got a B button chosen for it. Okay? If I wanted to buy long off the bottom of it, naturally I'd turn it on like that. If I wanted to short it, I would turn it on like this. Okay? If I wanted to actually take an angle break, let's say if it breaks above here to give an example, let's just do one for the fun of it. Let's see if it breaks at all, that angle. I may be out of time. See there? See how it just broke through? I think you'll find this can work pretty well for you. Practice it a little bit in Sim, and always make sure that you know what side it's on, because that was the T button just a minute ago. Now it's the B button. Okay? To make it the T button again, you got to be below the line. If it's above the line, it's the B button. That would be the B button there, and this would be the, let's just put it like right even here just for the fun of it. That would be the T button, that'd be the B button. Okay, as soon as it breaks this would be the B button. It's just that easy to always remember. If price is above it, it's the B button. If prices are below it, it's the T button. And that's that easy to do. And it's just like a box, except that it's a wedge. That's the only difference. T button, B button, T button, B button. Okay? You can even make this doing the same thing as far as that goes, the way it fires anyway. But wedge is just a little bit more difficult, naturally, because you're having to think, in real time, is that now my B button and this doesn't even count, right? Because that's my B button right now. This one doesn't even count at all. Okay? All right, I hope that made sense. Be sure and play around with wedge and see what you think. I think we designed it pretty awesomely. You can use touch. You can use touch plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It doesn't matter. You can use it to get out of trades completely. You can reverse it, and you can even trail with it. So for instance, if you had like 5 contracts on here right now, not that you would, but let's say that you did, and you had this angle set right there, and you wanted to be out of all of them but 3, you just simply make your angle accordingly the way you want it. And you can move it in real time. I mean, if you wanted to take that trade out, if that bar even did that, you could take 3 off. Okay? Let's see, did I miss any questions? The box illustration, Lewis, on your question, the box is actually just real simple. The box is actually to where you're just doing, well, matter of fact, this already did its little thing, but let's see, this is actually like almost a little bit of a short. Let's see if we can do a quick box and then we'll wrap. Let me go ahead, and this did turn green right here, but you do have a trend line along in here. I'm gonna use it on lightning, and I'll draw a little box, and we'll see if we can get either a long or a short. So we're gonna draw a region. Just hit your insert button. Okay, I'm not gonna turn on anything yet because we've already missed the trade. It was right down here. Let's see if we can get a retrace type trade on this thing. Okay, the bottom of the box is right here, right? Bottom of the box is now right here. Now right here, could you turn that on? Yes, see how I just did that? Short outside, touch plus 0. Okay, if I wanted to add, see there? That's how easy that is to do. In real time if you want to. Now keep in mind that's not necessarily where you might wanted to get in, but I did it based on a little lightning break is what I did. Just a quick little lightning break. Okay, looks like it's going to go our direction anyway, doesn't it? Yeah, it definitely did. How about that? Okay, that's how you use the box right there though. It has a T button and a B button. It's a little easier to keep track of though because it's a box, so the top of the box is always the T button. You know, it's like drawing two lines on the chart. In other words, it's just T button's always going to be at the top. Okay, a wedge is a little different because you're moving it around at an angle and it can become either. Okay? All right, thanks everyone for coming. I try to make these webinars as interesting as possible, and keep in mind that there's features on Object Trader that you don't have to use every day. I mean, you know, just to give an example, I think even Charles does not use like the ray or the wedge. He boxes. You know he boxes because that's the way he teaches and teaches and teaches. But can you use a ray? Absolutely. Okay, and that's why we designed it. It's got region, bar close, PM1, PM2, predictor, ray, sniper, stealth, time trade, and wedge. All right, and next week we'll try to talk a little bit more about let's talk about, I'll even go into a little bit more in the region and bar close. Okay, and some of these auto features. All right, thanks everyone. Oh, kiss trade, that's right. Brian, I'll do a kiss trade webinar because a kiss trade is really good. Matter of fact, see, if you look at this, when this broke, this little support here, see where that kissed, that same area right there? So it broke support, it kissed resistance, and it rolled. You know, now that's some, you know, major trading as far as going against the trend because it obviously worked, but this was also a big downtrend too, see? Okay, and again, could you have used a wedge to have gotten that trade too? Look at that. Absolutely you could. Wait for that inflection point, draw your wedge, pull it back a little bit, and more than likely you'd get in on about that bar right there. Because see, that one went up and closed above, that one went down and was below, so that would be the one that would fire. All right, just practice, practice, practice. Thanks everybody, we'll see you in the morning. Bye everyone, thanks.